Hello beautiful internet family, my name is Dan Davis and I'm the creative director here at DansTube.TV as well as the Fearless Drone Academy, which is the ultimate online drone course for beginners. And today I'm checking out a special piece of software which is called Drone Harmony. Now this is data acquisition for your drone, all in the one place. There are a lot of different industry-based applications for this software and different ways that you can use this in lots of different industries, but also for the consumers out there as well, people who have a DJI drone. You can still use this to set up waypoints and to also set up missions for yourself so that you can repeat the same mission time and time again. So I will have the pricing structure pop up on the screen now just to show you what's available with the different pricing options here. And very shortly, I'll show you how the workflow works. That was a great sentence, but basically how it all unfolds. And it's really cool because you have lots of different ways to interact with the software. So there's the web application, which is just a web-based version of the software. Basically, you go onto your web browser, type in app.droneharmony.com, and then from there you get a full workplace. You can plan out whatever you want in that space, and then it will sync with the cloud so that when you log into your device, whether that's a smart controller, an Android device, or an iPhone, it's going to sync between the web application and the mobile application and allow you to take that mission out onto the field and replicate that mission however you want to. You also have full customization through the mobile app as well. So that's really cool that you can actually plan a mission on the fly and customize things as you're out in the field. One thing that makes Drone Harmony really special is the fact that you can actually create 3D models with a map overlay. So basically, as you go into the map view, you get a nice satellite view of the area that you want to fly in. And then from there, you can draw perimeters around different things. So you can draw them around obstacles that you want to try to avoid, and you can draw it around the main focus point that you want to focus in on. And then from there, you can put a height to these objects or to these buildings. And then from there, you get a really cool 3D view, which I'm going to be showcasing through the web application and also when I actually set it up on the mobile app as well. But this is what makes it really special because then you actually get clear spatial awareness of what is happening in that area and also the distance between the things that you're trying to avoid and the subject that you're trying to focus on. I'm now going to jump into the workflow on the web application just to show you how it all sort of unfolds. Definitely check out the Drone Harmony website to get a deeper understanding of what it is for and how you can use it with your DJI drone. And then I'm going to show you the mobile workflow and give you my thoughts at the end of the video. I'm going to start off by giving you an understanding of how to basically start off by mapping something. So I want to start mapping this building here. So what I want to do immediately is create a polygon area. So I can just go around, make sure that I've got it, all appropriately covered here, making sure that I've, accounted for everything. It's also nice to scout out the area to make sure that you have some more detail, I guess, about the area and what to expect. But this is just a nice rough one here. I can then right click on it. I can change the color if I want, which I'll show you why you would be doing that soon. But we're going to set the height. I think it's 20 meters based on, previous experiences. So now that I've done that, I can click in the top right corner and get a full 3D model of that building. Now that immediately gives you a leg up over other applications because you have a 3D modeled area. And it doesn't just come down to what you want to map or what you want to create an orbit for or a helix or even just create a waypoint mission, for example. It can extend further than that. So what I can do here is I can zoom out a little bit and I can continue creating some polygons. So let's say here, for example, just the general area around the building. This is where the car park is. So now I can right click on this and I can change the color. So I'll make it gray and it's 0 meters. There's no height to it. We are really lucky with this area because there aren't really any obstacles in the way. But if there were, you could also draw out the obstacles so that you can basically tell the drone to avoid those areas. So even when it's doing its missions, it's going to avoid what's in its way, which is one of the most powerful things about this application. We're lucky that there's only a tiny little area here where I know that the trees, are relatively high, for example. So what I can do, create a little polygon again, We'll create an outside. I know that, you know, all down here, these are all relatively low, but we'll still go around the whole thing. You know, it's worthwhile, better safe than sorry. We'll come around here. I know that these other trees here aren't really going to be a problem. Come up around here, and then once I reconnect, I'm then going to right click and change that to green, and then I'm going to make the height 20. Now that I've set up a really basic design here, I can click over here, and now I've actually got my trees, which are over here. These are the obstacles, and again, depending on what their heights are, it's always nice to scout out the area and get a rough gauge or a very accurate gauge. You can take your drone up and see what height it is. So then when you come back to the web application, you can then put it in more accurately. But I've just gone 20 meters just to, you know, make sure that everything's fine. So this is what it looks like, the car park. This is what I want to focus on, this building. And then this is the potential obstacle that might get in the way for me. Now, once I've done that, I just want to click on the plus. And this is where I can see the different options. And there are a bunch. I'm not going to be able to get through all of them. But for this mission here, I want to just inspect it. And I want it to be more of a horizontal inspection. So I can click on that and it will let me know, well, you know, do you want to do this area or this area? Now, I definitely don't want to do the trees. So we're going to do this building. And once I click on it, it tells me, you know, where do you want to take off from? Now, I know that I'm normally taking off from right here where this tree is, because there's a nice little seat there for me. Straight when I click on that, you will now see we have set up the mission. And at that point, you could go out with your smart controller, RC Pro, Android, iOS device, whatever it is you're using. You could go out, load up the application, and it will be ready to go. Obviously, once I've saved this and finalized it, but this is ready to go right now, which is really cool. But I don't want the drone to fly that close to the building. You know, for me, that's a little bit too close, and I'm not really okay with that. So what I can do here is I can adjust these settings here. So you can see as I adjust them, it starts coming back a little further and a little further. So to me, that looks pretty cool. Might go a little bit further. So that's now what it's doing. You can see that the waypoints have decreased. So now I've only got 14 waypoints. That means that each waypoint could be a photo, or the mission itself could be a video as well. Also here, this gives me some more information about the mission itself. Obviously I can change the flight speed here if I wanted. If I could make that 7 kilometers an hour, it then makes the mission 4 minutes. It tells me the distance, a few other key metrics. It tells me how many waypoints as well, which is always handy to know. And then I can still play around with these. So they can adjust the altitude. I'm just going to leave that as 0 actually, as default, or 1, I guess. Top offset is basically how high it's going to be going. You can see that as I start increasing that, I can increase it a lot. I've now got a bunch of waypoints. Probably overkill for this kind of a mission. So we'll drop it down and we'll get it to about that point. That looks pretty cool. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's a 5-minute mission. I can then click on overlap. Now again, you can dive into all these settings and play around with them as much as you want, because there are so many options here. But as I adjust this one, for example, you'll see I can just pump the amount of waypoints. That's now 189 waypoints. If I really wanted to inspect that area on every intricacy, you know, every detail as I move around, I've got that full control if I want to. But for this one, we don't want the mission to be too long. Vertical overlap as well, you can adjust that, and you can see that as I'm doing it in real time, it's adjusting everything for me. So we'll leave that with the 5-minute flight. There we go, that's pretty cool. These waypoints down here are a little bit concerning. They are a little bit too low for me. So I am actually going to increase the altitude up to that point, maybe even a little higher actually. There we go. So now that's, you know, decent height at that point. And the other thing that's really cool is if there were obstacles here, and I drew them in, then it would be avoiding those obstacles as it was doing the mission, which again is very cool. I can then still play around with all of these options, so I can get it to actually do like a full 360 if I really wanted it to. That's a 9-minute flight at that point. That might be a cool one to do. I'll show you actually what happens. So as I push out this, it's just not touching this obstacle here, but if it was touching it, it would adjust, and I'll show you that actually very soon. So that's the mission that I've got set up, and then at that point it will return home after it's completed everything. So that's looking pretty cool to me. I can now at that point save it, and now I've got a mission. You can see the takeoff point. As I touch on it, it will highlight all the different waypoints. It will show me everything that's going on. So I can then click on that to give me some more details to play around with the speed again. If I wanted to, I could play around with the planning. I can also click on waypoints, select all the waypoints here, and then adjust altitude, rotate, and also set the gimbal as well.
So now that that mission is done, what I'm going to quickly do here, just for an example, just to show you what it does if it's trying to avoid something. So let's say this area here, I don't know, like just a random building in the middle of the ocean. So we put that there, and then we're going to make the height 20 meters again. So it's another building, very similar, 20 meters. We're going to right click on it and we're going to make it a different color, just so you can clearly see what it is. Now, once I go into this, you can now see that it's actually going to avoid these points here. So it's going to go around the obstacle to make sure that it doesn't make contact with the obstacle. So again, a really cool offering to have and something that's very handy as well. What I also want to do is I want to go over here to the lighthouse and I want to do a helix. Now a helix is a really fun option that isn't available by default for a lot of drones. But I want to focus on this zone here. It's a very small zone to draw in, but we're going to try our best here. So now that I've done that, I'm going to set the height again, 20 meters. I think that's roughly how high it is. And then we can see over here, I've got the little lighthouse, the Cleveland lighthouse, and then I've got the boathouse, whatever you want to call it, over here with the boat ramp. So I can see the two different missions that I've got going on here. Now, with the lighthouse, I can see that this area here, there's potential to have, you know, relatively high trees. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a polygon and I'm going to include all of these trees down here. So I'm going to include from here up to here. We're then going to go all the way around. Probably should go out a little bit. So I might go out to here, because we're obviously trying to avoid the trees. That's the thing that we're most concerned about here. Put that there, and then we might just go straight across. So now that's the area that we're, I guess, being mindful of. And let's say, for example, we make this 15. This is a little 15er, set that one up. So now that's the lighthouse set up with the area that I'm trying to avoid with the drone. So now that I've done that, so now I'm going to click on this and I want to go to shapes and I want to go to helix. Now this is where it wants me to choose my takeoff point right next to the lighthouse. So now you can see that I've got a helix mission going on over here. And again, I've got full control over this. I can really push it out wide if I wanted it to. Gives us like a hectic design. I can also bump up the height of it. So we can make it go nice and high. And like I've shown you in the previous examples, you can choose each waypoint and angle them down if you wanted to. You can also add a point of interest as well, which is really cool. But we're gonna make this one a little bit lower and we're going to just have a see what it's looking like here. So we can see that it's trying to avoid what's happening. It's trying to keep it above the, I guess, the tree line over here. It seems to be doing a good job. And that looks like a pretty interesting helix. Now it is saying it's going to take 11 minutes. So that's probably a bit too much. So we might try to pull it in a little bit. 8 minutes. We might make it go a bit faster as well. So 8 minutes for that. That's pretty decent. It's going to be an interesting perspective, but we're just going to save that as the helix. And now that that's set up, I can now click on waypoints and I can actually adjust all of these. So if I want to do that and then click on set gimbal, now that I can see the cone, so this is showing me what way the camera is facing. So I can really angle this. I can click on this and pull it down and you can see that now it's angling down at the lighthouse. So it's giving us a little bit of a better perspective of the lighthouse, but it's also kind of coming up and showing us more of the surroundings. So that could be a pretty unique shot. There we go. There's going to be a few over here that are going to be pointless, but that is fine because we kind of want to get the perspective of the lighthouse as we're going up. And I'm going to make this one a video one just to see how it all displays and how it all runs. But now that that's done, I can now see that I've got this mission here with the waypoint happening, and I've got this mission over here as well. So it's starting to take form and it's really easy to set up missions, as you can see. Very cool how easy it is to do. And then from there, you can play around with, you know, all these other settings. You can create lines, you can create a point of interest, you know, you can play around with some of these other things. We will actually set a point of interest and we're going to, I'm just going to click just off to the side and then drag it over the top. So now you can see the point of interest is now right over here basically, which you can't really see, but the point of interest is right in the middle there. So I can, you know, make sure that all of these are pointing towards that point of interest, just to make sure that it's going to be doing exactly what I want it to do. So again, you can play around with that and make that point of interest just a little bit higher. So because it obviously is the lighthouse, we'll make it 20. Now it's made that a 20-meter point of interest. Again, we can see over here that it has kept all of those parameters very similar, but the point of interest is now different points. So I can now right click on that and adjust the mission based on like clicking on this, you know, and you can select all the waypoints, for example. You can just direct it to the point of interest. But now, there we go. So now we've got all of these little cones here pointing up. We've got a few that are pointing straight on. These ones are pointing down. So now that I've got that point of interest and I've made it 20 meters, it's now looking down, trying to look down at that lighthouse. So that's going to be a really cool perspective because there is a lot going on there. So it doesn't matter if it just focuses on the lighthouse or not. But that's another mission set up, ready to go. Now I've got the RC Pro loaded up here, and I'm going to go straight into the Drone Harmony application. If you do want to get it on your RC Pro, you just go smartcontroller.droneharmony.com, and then you can download the APK and install it directly onto this device here. So I've already got it set up. I can go straight into Drone Harmony, and now that I'm in here, I can just click on location. You can see I've got like the world map here, and you can go all the way around the map to see what's going on. But I want to check out this little spot here in Cleveland. So I'm now I'm just saving the site on the computer so that I can actually load it up. Now that I've saved the site over on the Drone Harmony web application, I can come over here, go into site storage, load site, and then I can load up the Cleveland one. And this is where I can see basically the missions. I can see where I've put all the waypoints down, where the other waypoints are, the point of interest. I can click on that 3D map and it gives me a little bit of a understanding of what's going on here, which is really nice. But the other thing is that you can actually design everything through the application as well, which is kind of crazy. So I can just type in Cleveland, Queensland. I can click on it and it will take me over here. So maybe I want to start a new mission, for example. So I can click on the polygon tool and I can start outlining similar to what I showed you in the web application. And now I've got it all set up so I can play around with this as much as I want, play around with the height, move it, set the height, do all those things that I've already done. And I can do that on the fly if I want to set something up while I'm out and about on the field. So I've set that one up in not much time at all. And now what I can do is zoom in and I can click over here and I can see the polygon that I've created. So again, I've just created this in not much time at all. I can create missions in here as well. So if I really wanted to, I could click on that. I could then click on plan catalog and I can see all the mapping options that I saw on the web version. I can click on them so I can do like an eclipse, for example, set the takeoff point over here, click on continue. And now you can see it's mapped out a whole mission for me and didn't take long at all. So again, a really powerful option if you want to do it through your device as well, or you can just, you know, get it so it's communicating from the web app to the iOS, Android, or whatever app it is that you're using. And you can go between two. You can save them and then sync it up through the cloud. And it's a really cool option to have.
After planning missions through Drone Harmony over the past couple of days, I've found myself really enjoying that 3D modeling. I love being able to see things in a more visually pleasing way, which makes it a lot easier to know what's happening in the environment. I also really love how well it works from the web application over to the mobile application. I found that when I was playing on the mobile version, I was able to set up missions on the fly. Like I was able to just tap on points to create like an outline of something that I wanted to focus on, create a depth to it or a height to it, and then I was able to execute a variety of different missions just with a few taps. And then if I really wanted to, I could create custom waypoint missions as well. So for the consumers out there, it really does give you a lot of options to create some unique filming perspectives. I also really love how, as you're going through the settings, like as you're about to launch the mission, there are a few prompts that pop up and it kind of guides you through the process. It lets you change things, like change the speed, change exactly what's going to happen at each waypoint. You can have the photo where it's taking a photo but continuing to move. So it goes photo, move, or you can go photo and stop. So then the photo is going to be a lot more crystal clear. You're not going to have any blurring as the drone's moving. And it's just going to make sure that each image is as perfect as it can be. And then you also have video options. So you have the option to create different waypoints and inspect different areas. as well as, you know, actually creating like photo waypoints where each point and each angle that you're taking is going to be a photo. So again, like for that data acquisition side of things, like if you want to see something change, like let's say you're in the building industry and you're, you know, building some sort of property that you want to see the changes over a period of time, you can actually map out that building and then repeatedly go back and take the exact same mission time and time again over a period of, let's say, a year. Every month you go back and you get photos every single month, and it's then going to categorize them for you through the application. So that's where a lot of the power comes in, because it's all stored in the one place. It's a very powerful piece of software that, like I said, allows you to really create those 3D models, but then allows you to repeat the same mission time and time again, and then dump those photos into the Drone Harmony application to show you, you know, which angle each photo is taken on. So then you can see over time what kind of things are changing. And also Drone Harmony are going to be adding more cloud-based support for those photos as well. So that photos will actually be stored on the cloud, which is going to be great. It's going to make it a lot easier to navigate the photos and see, you know, what changes have occurred over that period of time. Another thing that I really like about Drone Harmony is, for me, like when I like a location, I normally go into Google Maps and then put like a love heart. You can favorite certain locations, and I put a love heart on it so I know that that's a spot that I want to check out. Now that's fine and it works relatively well, but to have like a dedicated drone application where I can actually map out an area and load up that site every single time, so I know exactly where I'm going, I know exactly where the obstacles are in the area, and I have it all, you know, spatially aware for me. It's all built out in a way that I can see exactly what's going on. That's going to give me a lot more information for safety, but as well as repeating the same mission whenever I need to repeat that time and time again. It's really important that you go back and check the mobile compatibility before you purchase Drone Harmony. At the time of me doing this video, iOS isn't fully supported on every single DJI drone, and with Android I found I had a lot more compatibility options there. iOS will definitely catch up, but it's just about making sure that the device you have, the drone you have, is going to be compatible with the version you're going to be running Drone Harmony on. So whether that's iOS or Android, or whether that's a smart controller as well, just looking into that to make sure that it's going to be compatible with the device that you actually own. I was running Drone Harmony on a Vivo device, which is like a relatively decent Android device, but nothing amazing by any means. Like it's probably about a 300 Australian dollar Android device, and it ran perfectly fine, even when there was multiple 3D models. Like, yeah, occasionally it would slow down just a little bit, and obviously there's a lot of information going on. So to have a relatively slow device like I do, it still did a great job, but I just find that, you know, you've got to be aware that it is quite graphically intense to render different 3D models, especially if you're rendering multiple 3D models and then rotating around them on your device. You might find you get a tiny bit of latency, but you know, that is expected considering, I guess, how much processing power is expected out of 3D modeling multiple buildings and objects in the environment. One of the coolest things was actually seeing the detail of, you know, the drone flying around in this 3D world. Like, even though it's an empty world as you view it, you can actually see the little red icon of the drone flying along, and as you change altitude, you will see that changing in this 3D world. It was also really cool to see like the waypoints, because they've kind of got like a cone design that shows you which direction it's pointing at, and then the drone, as it's moving along a mission, you can see what waypoint it's at, and it will tell you what photo it's capturing, or if it's a video, it will just continue along those waypoints. So again, you get a lot of detail and information through the missions, and there's lots of ways to view what's going on, which again is really nice to have that information as a mission is happening. Even setting up missions was really easy. I found that it was quite intuitive in the sense that, you know, you could tweak things with a little slider or just change values, and you would actually see in real time that change for you. So you could see, for example, the Helix, as I was doing that spiraled Helix, you could see as I was adjusting things, it was adjusting it in real time for me, so I could see exactly what that meant for me. And then as I tapped on point of interest, for example, I can just redirect all those waypoints to that point of interest. Again, nice and easy, and something I can set up within a few minutes, really. Like, I had missions ready to go within a few minutes of me thinking, oh, I'm gonna start doing this, boom, set up an area, start going with it, and it was ready to go immediately. So again, for such a powerful data acquisition application, to be able to do that in a few minutes is great. The other thing that's really cool as well is as you're building out these spatial 3D worlds, you know, you can be a lot more accurate with it. So when you go out to the field, maybe you want to plan a mission from your phone. You can launch your drone up, figure out the height of certain things, and then as you're setting up these obstacles or as you're setting up these buildings that you want to inspect, you can actually know exactly what the height is. So you can figure out that when you fly to that point, okay, that's 15 meters, let's say. So then in the application, as you build that area, you then just make it a 15-meter high building, and you know exactly that that is 15 meters. And then the trees might be 20 meters, so you can set them up over here. And then you've got a clear idea of what's happening in that world. So as you set a mission, it's automatically going to avoid those obstacles, knowing that there are obstacles in that area. So again, it really does set up a lot of safety options for you. So you can set up these data acquisition missions knowing that it's going to be a safe flight because the drone knows exactly where everything is. So I think once you set up the fundamentals of a mission and once you get used to how to create different things, it makes it really safe, but it also makes it quite an interactive experience to be able to figure out the height of certain things and to figure out the shape of what you're trying to capture. It made it really intuitive and yeah, nice and engaging, I think, for the user as well. So overall, if you're in an industry that uses drones for data acquisition, Drone Harmony has so many options for you. It's unbelievable what you can do through it. And it's perfect for people in industries where you're using drones. But I don't think it stops there. I think for the consumer, there are a lot of options to almost like bookmark areas and to know what's happening in the environment, to create waypoints and to create some fun movements that you can't do default through the application, through the DJI Fly application. It does create some new movements for you. And it's just a really fun process. It makes it more of an interactive process to go out with your drone instead of just, I guess, aimlessly flying. You actually have a lot more intention behind what missions you're capturing and what you're trying to do when you take your drone out. So anyway, they're my thoughts on Drone Harmony. Well worth checking out if you are in one of those industries or if you're a consumer and you want to take your drone flights and data acquisition a little bit more seriously. I think Drone Harmony is a really good choice for you. So thank you so much for watching. I would love your thoughts in the comments below, and I will chat to you in the next one. Peace.